So we've got a fairly, it is my pleasure and privilege to welcome you here this afternoon.
The Honourable Minister for International Development and the Pacific, Honourable Stephen Shobo, the Deputy Secretary General, Ms. Andy Troy, visiting members of Parliament from Australia, members of the Diplomatic Corps, our NGO partners, donor funding partners, invited guests, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, Nisambula Vinaka, and a very, very warm, I'll say, early good evening to you all. It is indeed a privilege and honor for me on behalf of the Fijian government to address you on this special occasion where we launch the Pacific Women's First Progress Report 2012 to 2015. We so much value this program support from the Australian government and its goals of improving the political, economic and social opportunities of Pacific women in 14 Pacific countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pacific Women's Program works with governments, civil society organizations, the private sector, regional and United Nations agencies to, one, increase the effective representation of women and women's interests, to expand women's economic opportunities to earn an income and accumulate economic assets, to reduce violence against women and increase access to support services and to justice for survivors of violence. And of course, these overarching approaches can impact natural development and livelihoods of all Pacific women. We cannot hide the representation of women at all levels of leadership and decision making. Making is inadequate throughout the Pacific, including only 4% representation, well below the 21% being the global average for women. Even as I articulate these statistics, it highlights that the struggle for gender equality for women needs to continue. As the minister responsible for national women's machinery here in Fiji, I have a special commitment to working with developing our women's leadership, and it pleases me to see so much happening in Fiji and around the Pacific. Recently, I believe on the 25th of November, Papua New Guinea hosted a Women's Leadership Forum with over 300 women participants. Our own ministry just last week, with the technical assistance of our Pacific Women Program, Gender Advisor, hosted a Public Service Women's Leadership Forum and also planned for next year and well into the future. We want to foster a strong support base for mentoring, coaching and training for our women from our women leaders. On Wednesday and Thursday last week, the ministry hosted a 2-day paralegal workshop for 40 women in the West. These rural women traveled from all parts of Fiji to be part of the program and have gained skills that will help them advocate for women experiencing gender-based violence. We are excited that both these groups of women will be working with more forums. The Pacific Women's Program commitment to economic empowerment of women is improving infrastructure and the management of produce markets, and not only increasing the number of skilled women in agriculture, but raising awareness of the incredible contribution women make to the economy. In many places around the Pacific, it may be men that set up the agricultural endeavors, but it is the women who do the lion's share of work in maintaining that endeavor. I applaud the Pacific Women's Programs focused to reduce barriers to economic empowerment for women, just as our own National Women's Expo program flourished over the past 2 years. This year, the ministry hosted 8 divisional craft shows and a National Women's Expo, where 43 artisans were awarded the prestigious Fijian-made accreditation for their work. On behalf of the women who have access to these program services, I congratulate the Pacific Women team for your hard work and successful innovation and leadership in addressing gender-based violence. The program is funding services for survivors of gender-based violence and working with faith-based communities, as well as supporting strong law enforcement initiatives and training of police. We need strong accountabilities for perpetrators, and for that we need leadership to achieve this. I'm sure you'll agree with me, leadership is an important issue in the progression of any nation, and as such, international development requires a special leadership touch. I congratulate the Pacific Women Support Unit team leader, Fiji's own Linda Pattison, and all the hard-working women from the Australian High Commission's gender team. Again, like any leadership, we need to show innovation, entrepreneurship, and commitment to change. This program has ticked all these boxes, and through their extensive research, they are well positioned to allocate targeted assistance and resources where they will be most effective and where real changes can be experienced and quantified. I know the report that we're going to launch today will have much information, and we are all eager to share and learn. In the struggle for women's equality and empowerment, we must be open to learning and use our learnings to shape and polish better responses and more thorough and targeted initiatives, advancement for all Pacific women. I have a vision for women in Fiji that with the assistance of our development partners, one day we will turn around gender inequality so we will enjoy the same rights, same choices, freedoms and prosperity. Through these partnerships, I also see a future where our women and girls can look forward to fulfilling their potentials and living lives free from oppression and violence. Ladies and gentlemen, what better time to launch this report that showcases the hard work and positive innovations of the Pacific Women's Program. This launch, of course, coincides with the 16 days of activism for ending gender-based violence, where all across the Pacific, NGOs, governments, the private sector, the civil society come together to work for gender equality and a violence-free world for our women and girls. So, Honourable Shobo, I once again welcome you. I think we meet just within a span of a month or so, we meet again. And I welcome your team to Fiji and all our guests, all our partners. I congratulate you on this program, on its great support and its wonderful successes. And I'm sure great days are coming for us in future if we all work together. So with these words, ladies and gentlemen, may I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year, should we not meet again, and a safe travel back home. Thank you.
Good afternoon to all of you, Bula Vinaka. Can I acknowledge, of course, the Honourable Minister for Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation, Rosy Akbar. As Rosy said, we crossed paths with each other only 5 weeks ago, I think it was, at the Fijian Women's Fund launch. A very worthwhile and important initiative. Another, I guess, step along the pathway to greater gender empowerment throughout not just Fiji, but the Pacific. And as I remarked then, there are so many aspects of the journey that we're all on collectively together. I'm tempted to say the sisterhood, but I feel like I can't do that. You get the idea. Can I acknowledge, of course, Andy Fong Toy, the Deputy Secretary General and Acting Secretary General of the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat. Good to see you again, Andy. We met only 2 weeks ago in Paris, so it was a little cooler there than it is here. But good to see you again. Andy was touched that there was another lawyer in the Australian Parliament, because I know there's not enough. To the various members of the Diplomatic Corps that are here, those members of the Fijian Parliament that are here, can I particularly acknowledge Australian parliamentarians that are here. Nola Marino, who is the Chief Government Whip for the government, and you can see why I brought Nola along, because I'm trying to build some political capital with her. So when I asked for leave, hopefully it'll be forthcoming. Nola, good to see you here. Jane Prentice, who's the Federal Member for Rhyme, has a very keen interest in Pacific affairs. Jane, wonderful to have you join us. And Sharon, terrific to have you here, the Member for Newcastle, and a member of the opposition who's come along in the bipartisan spirit that is Australia's interest in the Pacific region, both members of the government and the opposition together. So it's terrific to be able to lead this delegation of Australian parliamentarians that are here. The various representatives of the development partners, the private sector and civil society, those who partner with the Pacific Island Forum Secretariat in the development of this report, and as I said, generally, ladies and gentlemen. It's terrific to be here. And I'm particularly pleased to acknowledge the Fijian government for its very warm hospitality in convening this afternoon's launch. I'm pleased to be able to be here for the inaugural progress report from the Pacific Women Reshaping Pacific Development. Pacific Women Shaping Pacific Development, or Pacific Women for short as others have said, is Australia's flagship gender equality investment in the region, supporting women in 14 Pacific countries, regardless of their income, location, disability, age, or ethnic group, because we want them to fully participate in a free and safe manner in all aspects of life, be it political, economic and social. This program helps Pacific Island countries meet the commitments made in 2012 by their respective leaders in the Pacific Island Forum Leaders Gender Equality Declaration. And it is therefore a significant milestone to be launching this report jointly with the Pacific Island Forum Secretariat, the home of the Declaration. It's also a proud member for me, as was mentioned by way of introduction. I am pleased to be a White Ribbon Ambassador in Australia. And to be able to launch this report during the 16 days of activism to end violence against women and girls highlights the significance for me at a personal level, but also of this report in helping to craft and change attitudes throughout the Pacific region. This report shows that in the first 3 years of implementation, Australia's biggest investment through Pacific Women has been in the area of addressing violence against women and girls. Ensuring greater gender equality is not only the right thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do. Nations thrive when every woman and girl has the right to live in a society that is free of gender-based discrimination and are able to appropriately and in a very meaningful way participate in education, politics, business and society as equals in their society. One of the core principles of the Pacific Women is that a change actually must be delivered and must be shaped, but the ownership of that change must be from the Pacific communities themselves. Across all 14 countries, individual Pacific Women initiatives are implemented through country plans that have been developed in close consultation with Pacific women and with the men and their organisations and national governments that all play such a key role in helping to drive the change that we all want to see across the Pacific. And the key message from these consultations suggests the values and attitudes of men and women are significant barriers to gender equality in the Pacific. That the local context of women's experiences needs to be understood. So, Pacific Women, on meeting the needs, the individual needs, that is of the men, the women, children, communities in each country, that work in collaboration with their partners to help bring about that change. An advisory board of prominent Pacific women and men guide the program, together with representation from across the Pacific and from a wide range of organisations, many of which are of course represented here today. And I'm pleased that there are 3 members of the advisory board, I'm told, that are here with us this afternoon. In addition to Andy, we have is Colin here? No, Colin's not here. So not Colin, but we have Reverend Sarah Mia Loma Loma. Thank you for coming along, and thank you to the representation that you've played. I've had the chance to meet you briefly this afternoon and appreciate the guidance that you've played in that role, in addition to, of course, Andy. We thank you for your partnership and for your commitment to Pacific Women. So, ladies and gentlemen, the inaugural progress report of Pacific Women showcases some of the early achievements of the program. It also highlights the wide range of partnerships that have been developed with Pacific governments, regional and multilateral organisations, community and faith-based groups, the private sector and academia. Over 50 case studies and stories that feature the voices of Pacific women and men to highlight country and regional activities and events. For example, in Samoa, where I'll travel later this week, the Samoa Victim Support Group has established a community alert system which involves more than 400 village representatives in 166 villages across the country. And as part of this innovative program, mobile phones play an important role in giving these villages access to the support group services as and when required. In Solomon Islands, one man describes how his view towards gender equality changed after he participated in the Channels of Hope for Gender program. I've been briefed on this program before and I know the tremendous impact that Channels for Hope is having. He said he was once a violent person to his wife and his children, as well as more broadly in the community. Now, after having completed the program, he says, and I quote, "I treat my wife equally and appreciate her as an individual. My children don't have to live in fear, and and they don't have to live with distrust of me anymore. In Vanuatu, Asunda finished school in grade 6 to work as a cleaner on minimum wage. And she recently received tourism-related training and ongoing business management coaching through one of the Pacific Women-funded TVET courses. Asunda is now managing the most successful bungalow business in the province of Lakatoro, that is the Lakatoro Palms Lodge. And right here in Fiji, single mother Sonam says she's since completed a diploma of the South Pacific Academy of Beauty Therapy, and as a consequence is now able to support her son, her mother and her younger sister. So these are just some of the stories that have been covered off through consultation, some of the anecdotes and the ways in which people's lives have been changed, which you'll be able to read about in the report when it's officially released. Can I also particularly thank the Australian members from the High Commission who've participated. Your role through the Gender Empowerment Program, the work that you do in collaboration with the Secretariat is truly appreciated. And can I say as a member of the government, and it'd be remiss of me not to, with Julie Bishop as Foreign Minister, reinforce our very strong support for the great work that you do in exercising Australia's policy priorities in terms of the rollout, consultation and ultimately the delivery of this program. I'm particularly grateful that we've got members of the Australian Parliament here, an all-female delegation in terms of those that are participating, who are helping to reinforce those key messages. Can I say I'm also heartened by the police services in many countries, such as Kiribati, which have stepped up to partner in 3 worthwhile projects. I'll have the opportunity to visit some of the police units that focus on domestic violence, and we'll do that when we travel through as well, not just in terms of Kiribati next year, but through Samoa and Tonga. There are many more inspiring stories that are contained in this report. I'd encourage you to take copies this afternoon, to go home, to have a look at them, and to share the information contained within them. Importantly as well, there is of course the website, which I encourage you to help spread the address and information in relation to it. Can I conclude by reiterating gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls is at the heart of sustainable development. It's not only the right development objective, but it's also smart economic policy. As long as the dignity and well-being of half of humankind is at risk, then peace, security and stable development will remain elusive to us. I thank the Pacific Women team for putting together this timely report as the world observes the 16 days of activism to end violence against women and girls. This report will be a valuable resource for all of those that are involved in helping to achieve gender equality, and I certainly look forward to continuing to work on this project together, to continue to see advancements, to continue to see a future that we can all fix our eyes upon, a future in which girls and women are equal and are accorded as much respect as they should rightly do so in a society that recognises we're all together humankind. Banaka, and thank you.
In market decision-making structures. So this is just a taste of support. The main page also includes a snapshot. For example, if you click on Fiji, you will see that there are 10 activities underway through the country plan in Fiji with a value of 6.7 million. So ladies and gentlemen, the report is now officially launched.
Some really dry days.